Hi everyone. Now what we're going to be using some of the square root properties that I've been teaching you in this section to help you actually solve for the zeros, roots, or x-intercepts of a quadratic. So you're going to learn another way for how to find or how to solve for x, which when you solve for x, don't forget you're solving for the zeros, the roots, or the x-intercepts, which if you notice, since y is 0 in these equations, remember, y equals 0 when we're on the x-axis. So this is letting me know that we're solving for the x-intercepts, or the roots, or the zeros, or the solution. So we're going to be solving using the square root property, which all that means is that we're going to eventually have to take a square root. And since you guys are pros at simplifying square roots, this should be easy peasy. Okay, so basically we're going to be solving for x and have to take a square root, which means some of those square root properties might appear at some point. But I don't want to give too much away. So let's get started. Okay, so in example 10, we're going to be solving using the square root property, which I'm going to zoom in on example 10. Okay, so first of all, you guys, which actually I'm going to zoom out, JKLL. Actually, you guys, how you know when to use the square root property? If you guys see here, all three of my examples contain an x squared term, and then we contain the term without the x, or the constant term. So the term with the x squared is called the quadratic term. The term without the x is called the constant term. So if you are only given the quadratic term and the constant term, that is telling you that you're going to be using the square root property. Now, if you are given the middle term, or the term that has just x to the first, that is your linear term. If you have the linear term, you cannot solve your equation this way. So just be careful. You can only solve this when you have the square term or the quadratic term, or the constant term, the term without the x. So just be careful. Demon cats are always out and about, and they're always trying to get us. So I'm just trying to brace you guys. Okay, so now let's dive into example 10. Let's see. Okay, so all we're going to be doing is solving for x. And remember, since our equation equals 0, that means our y is secretly 0. So we're still solving for the zeros, the roots, x-intercepts, or solutions, which you guys are used to doing. Okay, so let's solve this thing for x. So I'm trying to get the x squared term on one side by itself. Currently, this negative 108 is getting in the way. So the way that you move a negative 108 to the other side is by adding that thing on both sides. So I'm going to add 108 on both sides of my equation. Okay, which negative 108 plus 108 will cancel and turn to 0. 0 plus 108 is 108. Okay, so we're left with 3x squared equals 108. Okay, you guys, I'm so close to solving for x. I'm really close, but currently this 3 is in the way. So don't forget, you guys, the 3 and the x are secretly multiplying. So the way I'm going to move 3 to the other side is by dividing that thing on both sides. So I'm going to divide it on both sides. 3 divided by 3 will cancel and turn to 1. Okay, so I'm left with x squared equals 108 divided by 3, that's going to be, let's see, I'm going to have to work it out. I might be able to do it in my head. Let's see. So it would be 36. Okay, which again, if you don't know how to do that in your head, you can always work it off to the side. Like I could have said like 3 into 108. 3 goes into 10 3 times. Remainder 1. 3 goes into 18, 6. So there you go. 36. Okay, so if you ever need to work it out on the side, don't hesitate to do that. Okay, so I have x squared equals 36. Okay, and again, I'm still super close to solving for x, but this time the squared is getting in the way. Okay, so do you guys know what the opposite or the inverse of a squared is? Of course you do. Holy hot dog. It would be a square root. Okay, so whenever you're moving things to the other side, you are performing the inverse operation, or the opposite. Okay, the opposite of subtraction is addition. That's why we added on both sides. The opposite of multiplication is division. That's why I divided on both sides. Well, the opposite of a square is a square root. So this is telling me to square root both sides. Okay, which I'm going to bring this up here now because I'm running out of space. Okay, so the square root will cancel out the square. So I'm left with x equals, now, we have talked about this before, but whenever you square root both sides of an equation, something will appear on your equation. And you can think about it like this. What can you square to get 36? Well, 6 times 6 is 36, but also negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. Guys, so remember when you square root both sides of an equation, a plus or minus will always appear. Don't forget it. Okay, and then the square root of 36, I already gave it away, but you guys already knew it, so you know. All right, so the square root of 36 is 6. So x equals plus or minus 36, plus or minus 6. So what this means is x could equal 6 or x could equal negative 6. It could equal the positive or it could equal the negative. So my two solutions, roots, zeros, x-intercepts, or basically if you're solving for x, okay, your x's could be 6 or they could be negative 6. So this is how you solve an equation when you're missing that linear term or x to the first, and it's basically going to involve you taking a square root, hence the name square root property. Let's get going on our next problem. I'm already super excited, which I can see you guys are too, so let's get going.